These are tales of danger and the pursuit of endless riches. Adventurers and heroes from all parts of the world charging into the unknown, setting steel and magic against the most impossible foes, with each time wondering if this would be the last. Storms gather on the horizon, and evil rises from the waters of despair. These are tales of endless adventure. These are the Awakened Fables.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cold War of Thogja. I am Dungeon Master Sam, and with me today is the full group. We have Addison, Luke E, Luke F, Michael, and Rob. As of the last session, the group were able to successfully make their way out of the Storm Hag's demiplane and make their way back into the city of Thogja properly, where they discovered that time had rapidly passed while they were in the demiplane. With an extended period of time, being about 3 weeks now have passed, they quickly made their way over to the new headquarters, where both Clan Coldstring and Solkling appear to have merged forces in order to try and ensure that the two sides will survive as much as possible against the combined forces of the Fae. Now, from there, they were able to finally deliver the recipe for cold iron into the hands of Solothime, and from there, their various weapons and abilities, various weapons and items are going to be upgraded so that they can go forth and hopefully begin slaying the Fae without too much of a problem. They recalled their contract with the Fae who was named as Jesper, and headed over to him in order to advise him of their imminent departure from the city, when Tinkrit, as well, primarily Tinkrit, but I think it was the others as well, began to suspect exactly what Jesper was doing and instead opted to capture him. From there, the group began to lead him back to the clan headquarters in order to interrogate him as to his exact role in what has happened in the city of Thogja. Now, for our viewers, we are likely to unfortunately go through and make a mistake here and there. In real life time, it has been about 1 month since we've actually played this, so forgive us if any small details happen to go a little bit unnoticed. But, gentlemen, as of the last session, you guys had just captured Jesper, who was holed up in the old guild hall, which you guys had cleared out. You had been able to bind him, I believe it was Rithgar, with his ridiculous survival, who was able to do so. Now, I don't exactly recall that roll, so Rithgar, would you be able to roll a survival once more?
You're going to have to cash in a nat 20 on this one. I'm going to roll a 1.
Alrighty, let me just bring up the nat 20 amount. Oh, that's actually something we should update. So, Luke F, you currently have 3 nat 20s. Michael, you currently have 5. Luke E, you have 3, and everybody else currently has 0. Addison, you are currently leading the charge with 2 stored nat 1s. Luke E, you have 0. Rob, you have 0. And Michael and Luke F, you both have 1 nat 1 stored apiece. So, we're in the end game, guys. I am probably going to start getting a little bit more liberal with those, so be prepared.
Okay.
Alright, so that is a 19. Very nice. Alright, so the bindings that you've been able to put around Jesper are fairly firm, pretty much beyond the ability for most men to actually break out of, and by the time you're doing it, you're very well and truly satisfied that unless he happens to be a trapeze artist, there's pretty much no way that he's actually going to be able to make his way out of that. Alright, so what would the rest of you guys like to do now?
So we are... have we returned and delivered the cold iron recipe back yet?
You have delivered the cold iron recipe, but it hasn't been enough time for them to go through and do things. Basically,
I thought that I got some bolts for my light crossbow.
I believe that was the easiest thing. They were quoting about 24 hours for them to be able to upgrade all of your weapons in order to do so.
So are we still at the place where we captured Jesper?
That's right.
Okay, well I think we need to quickly escort him to the stronghold.
Sounds good.
Alright, so the stronghold is not too far away across the city, but even as you guys begin to move around and leading through the streets of Thogcha, you can see that there are still a number of Fae which seem to at least litter the skies of the city itself. Now, as you move on, I'm assuming that you haven't actually gagged him. Sorry, say that one more time. Alright. No, it's all good.
And it gets him off.
Yeah.
I'm looking around at the sky, seeing the bay above, and I turn to the party and I say, gentlemen, you observe that I've been acting somewhat strangely recently, and that's because I've been going through some profound changes, which are, don't be alarmed when you see what's about to happen. And my wings come up, and I launch myself into the air.
What the fuck is that? Right. Demon!
I take my
Not a demon. Relax, relax.
Right, how long has he been able to do that? Is he going to do it the whole time? This is... Oh, I mean, it's not exactly impressive to me. I can fly too.
I have a 60 feet above the party and say, come on guys, get on, move on. And I draw my light crossbow. Any bay that comes anywhere near us is getting a crossbow ball.
Alrighty. So, the process of the journey through the city itself is fairly quick. Those Fae which have been, who are curious into the exact progression of the party are very quickly chased off and shown that you now do have the capacity to deal with them a bit permanently. After the 4th or 5th incursion where you've been able to fight them off, the rest of the Fae very wisely decide to take their curiosity elsewhere.
Cool.
Very good.
Yes. Should I be stealthing? Are you stealthing, Lifter?
I don't think so because I'll be leading the prisoner.
Okay. Perhaps I should. Up front, yeah?
Yeah.
And it says, dealing 20 words. Yes, it does. So, yeah. Sam?
Yep.
In stealth mode.
Yep.
You've got a 37 because of my opponent plus 10.
Oh, yes.
Alright. So, yes, that is a 37 for you guys to move your way through the streets. Alright, so without too much of a debacle, aside from the constantly muffled whining of Jesper, you guys are eventually able to make your way back to the headquarters, where you are immediately allowed in upon the order of Solothime. Now, once you're in, however, you do receive a bit of a curious, inquiring look from Solothime in regards to your newly captured prisoner. However, he seems to trust you enough that he assumes that you must be doing this probably for a good reason. Gentlemen, we...
I would remember what that was.
Sorry?
I said if only we could remember what that was.
Yes. I'm sure it's a good read for the Sam said.
Of course. Gentlemen, we have already begun the process of imbuing your particular weapons with the cold iron ability. We should hopefully be able to have you depart in the morning. Now, I see that you have a prisoner. Were you requiring a room for this one, or shall we just bundle him in the corner?
We're
think
gonna need to work.
corner's probably safer, wouldn't you say, guys?
At least everyone's got an eye on him. He's up and out.
I was thinking we put him in a room with good drainage.
I could put a blanket down underneath him. A puppy mat.
And considering your imminent trip out of the city, are we keeping a hold on this one, or we just disposing of it as soon as we have the capacity to?
No,
He doesn't lose my sight.
we need to question him. We're somewhat suspicious of his intentions, and he seems to have a curious ability of appearing at rather important times, like being hanging around while other events are happening. So we just need to satisfy ourselves that he's not in fact in league with the leader of the Fae currently occupying the keep. Is that fair enough, gentlemen?
Yep.
Alright, in that case, I will order the bedchamber of the children as well as the relic to be emptied. We'll try and partition off that just to ensure that you are not disturbed in your interrogations.
Now, we need to come up with a plan of how we're going to win this competition as well, because if I recall correctly, have we pinched their relic or their artifact yet? Isn't there two things we can do to win this?
So, metagaming wise, this one I do believe was mentioned last time. Basically, the Relic of the Fae is hypothetically located out in a secure location in the Feywilds. So, you've not been able to do so yet.
At the castle, or the country manor of one of the Fae princes, isn't that correct?
The Autumnal Castle is what the rhyme referred to it as.
Okay. And he wants to get out to the Autumnal Castle. Well, we suspect he does. He wants to flee the city, and we've managed to create a way for him to do so, but we're pretty suspicious of his intentions.
I believe that's the case for you guys, yeah.
Alright, well let's take him and question him, because we then need to get out of the city tomorrow morning, and probably best be doing it as early as possible.
Good idea.
Alright. So, with a few spoken words, Solithine very quickly organises for the room to be emptied and a partition set up. From there, a small wooden stool is pretty much placed down. While this occurs, you are offered some food, but you are immediately able to see that it looks like the amount of food that is currently available to the clan as a whole will probably not be able to last them much longer. At the moment, it looks like they have been going through whatever has been stored away within their coffers, as they've not been able to receive any means of replenishing their food while within the city.
Sam, would there be anything for me to hunt for them?
Unless they're willing to eat Fae.
So no rats, no nothing?
Roll me either a perception, survival, or nature check. It's all good. Alright, that is a 26. Alright, so over you very quickly begin to think about your adventures through the city over the last apparent month or so. You are not able to recall the presence of any mundane creature, so no rats, no birds, nothing.
Right.
Push.
We did see plenty of fish in the Stormhag's Run.
Yes.
Yes, actually, you do recall fish being present within the rivers, and, as you said, the Stormhag's Run.
Well, I hope they like sushi.
I go fishing, okay?
Yep. Alright, well, with a... Sorry?
In a rare explosion ability, I'm going to send
How many people in total would there be?
At the current time, the warriors of both clans have been reduced to about 20. The children factoring in brings that number up to about 32.
Right. Well, I can dump 3 first level spots and give them all a good berry. That's I think a day's worth of meal. Yeah, enough nourishment to sustain a creature for 1 day.
Yep.
So if worse comes to worse, they can have a good berry.
Yep, easy enough. Alright, so while Will is currently manifesting the various good berries and bringing them into being, and Rithgar goes fishing, the preparations for the interrogation area of Jesper are completed, and upon that, Solithime very quickly advises you that he is as prepared as the group can collectively make it.
Good. That will suffice you for the foreseeable future.
Sam to metagame for a second because I don't have my character sheet with all my spells on it. I don't think I have any sort of charm-like magic.
I do.
Yes.
No, you do not have any charm spells from the looks of things. You have a lot of fire.
Yeah.
What are we trying to get them to do?
Well, we want to find out what his true intentions are for when to leave the city.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cast suggestion on him. I'm going to suggest that it'd be a really good idea for him to tell us what his intentions are.
Alright, can you throw that ability into the chat? Suggestion. Let's have a look. Use just course of activity and magical influence creatures you can see within range. I can hear and understand you. Creatures that can't be charmed are immune to this effect. The suggestion must be worded in such a manner as to make the course of action sound reasonable. Asking the creature to stab itself, throw itself onto a spear, immolate itself, or do some of the other obvious harmful act ends the spell. The target must make a wisdom saving throw. Alright, give me a sec.
19.
Ooh, and that was an 11. Alright, give me the flavor. What does your spell look like when being cast?
Basically, it doesn't look like anything. It's a bit of a wave of the hand, out of thinness. Hey mate. That's a really good idea if you told us. I think it'd be best for everybody, in fact, if you told us what your intentions were. Then we can work through it together, work out what the best course of action is for everybody, and make sure that we're all going to be doing the right thing. That sounds reasonable, don't you think?
So, with his gag now removed, you come under the furious look of Jesper as he peers down his nose at the small halfling in front of him. If you required any help, you could have simply asked. There was no need for this ridiculous roughhousing. We are under contract.
What? I don't understand what you're telling me.
We've done him a favour. Is that what you're saying?
I paid for the safe passage of myself out of this particular city. I provided you with payment and you accepted it. You are currently in violation of the contract and I see no requirement for you to have done these particular actions.
Well, we haven't said we won't take you, but you have to understand that we need to be assured of the fact that you won't betray us or otherwise engage in any other activity that's harmful to our interests. That seems reasonable. That's absolutely something that could be implied into our contract, that neither of us do harm to the other. And as yet, we haven't done harm to you. Rather, we have secured you and taken you to a safe location so we can assure that you're going to keep up your end of the bargain.
So Jesper gives a bit of a disdainful sniff. I suppose you are correct. However, I do believe that you have been much rougher than you were actually required. Now, what exactly did you need of me?
Why are you leaving the city?
You have already asked this information of me. I find it no longer to my benefit to remain within the walls of the city and doing my duty to a king who who has no desire to protect me or my particular interests.
What are your interests?
You receive a bit of a coy grin instead. The same thing of any creature with a limited lifespan. I'd simply desire my continued existence, and I do not believe that I'm likely to get that.
Why?
He gives as much a shrug as he can, considering his current bound state. I am defying the will of my king, and simply put, this particular city is in no way habitable for one of my kind in the long term. I believe I would do much better out there in the Feywilds, where I can hunt and gather.
Yes. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Can you be trusted? Remember, I suggested that it would be best if you told us the truth on all matters.
He looks at you. I have no intention of attacking you.
That's very nice, but that's not the question I asked.
So that one, however, does seem to baffle him a bit more. I have no intention to do anything that will cause harm to yourself and your comrades.
That's nice, as I said, but can we trust you?
That one seems to outright stump him, and he just outright boggles at you for a moment. I am a Fae, you are a mortal creature. We have entered into a contract by which I'm bound by my own word. You have promised safe departure, I provided you with payment, and I remain true to my words. Is there any reason for you to distrust me?
Yes, because you're a Fae, and you will remain true to your nature, which is by its nature fickle. So, upon delivering you outside of to where you want to be, at that point, is it likely that you will betray us?
I have no intention of betraying you, either to the Autumn Prince's forces, or to that of any of the other Archfey.
Okay. What about the minions?
Do they not count as part of the forces?
Allies?
Somebody want to do an insight check on him?
Mm.
And we've got positive, but it's not magnificent.
Sure. I will.
Alright, an 18 from Will. Will, however you manage to get your particular ability to determine insight, you do not sense that the Fae in front of you appears to be lying. If anything, when he does mention the contract, he seems to be a little bit more reliant in the belief, or I suppose adhering to the belief of a contract, than any of the Fae have been acting before.
Alright, well, doesn't seem like he's bullshitting us. I, for the most part, believe his intentions are what he's saying they are.
Let's set him free then.
Alright, so with his restraints now open, he stands up and begins to rub his wrists in order to restore the blood flow back to it. It's a supremely human-like mannerism, which is a little bit disconcerting considering his overly sharp face and facial features.
I do have one final question for him, which is, why did you boggle so when I asked you the question whether you can be trusted? Why was that so difficult to answer?
Jesper pauses for a moment, and you can see that he appears to be gathering his thoughts before he very carefully states, What information or what legends do you still adhere by here in the mortal realm? We have always been under the belief that the mortals would know that if you are bound in a contract, then a Fae must uphold it to the full extent of their own life. To break a contract is to break ourselves.
Yes, I think you'll find that other creatures beyond the Fae are tarring you with their own brush. Breaking of promises and deals is common in this plane.
He gives a bit of a derisive snort. Well, that is not so for the Fae. In our particular case, if we do make a contract and then break it, then if we do not immediately die from doing so, then we can be expected to either be outcasts or hunted down and punished by the Archfaes themselves.
Thank you for your honesty.
Let's ask him, secret. Let's see if we can get some intelligence from him in respect to the Autumnal Castle.
Yeah, okay.
Its location and defenses.
What are you able to tell us yesterday?
What is this knowledge worth to you?
I was merely asking. I think it would be best for all of us if we understood as much as we could, which would help us in our mission to get you free. So what's worth to me is completing our contract with you.
Our contract will be complete once we have left the city with myself intact. If you would require information of the Autumnal Castle, then I suppose that we can come to a further agreement.
Has suggestion finished?
Suggestion lasts... That's a concentration up to 8 hours, so presumably not.
I think it would be best for all of us if you shared everything you knew, don't you?
There is a waiver, and you can see that he appears to be fighting with himself in this particular regard. Just a second. However, he rolls a 25 in this...
I'd like to chuck in a persuasion, if I may.
Yep, go ahead. You may do so at advantage. Oh, 35. I forgot what ridiculous levels you were back up at. Oh, and there's a nat 20. Alright. So, would you like to store or use the nat 20?
I think I'll store it. I think 36 should be enough.
You think? Alrighty. So, there is another look of quick calculation before Jesper very reluctantly seems to open his mouth and begin explaining. The Autumnal Castle has traditionally been the seat of the Autumn Prince. That's Prince Sentinel, the Lord of the Fall. He is minor as far as the Archfae have gone, and to be honest, this particular attempt to take over the city and, I suppose, emerge into the mortal plane has been quite a reach for him, but at the very least, he seems to successfully be pulling it off so far. The Autumnal Castle, once we do leave this particular city, we should be emerging into an immense redwood forest, at which point I will be opting to depart from you, but so long as you remain on the path from Thogja and do not deviate, then you should be able to reach the Autumnal Castle, likely within just a few days. However, if you do go above land, then keep in mind there will be, I suppose, many hazards that the young prince will put in front of you, and if you choose to go below, then you will need to deal with the machinations of the Goblin King.
Right. Anybody else want to know anything else?
That I'll think of.
fishing.
Sorry, what?
I'm out fishing. After saying they won't get off. I'm really going to let him out of my sight. I'm going to fishing.
Right.
I could with that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that information. Is there anything else that you think that we should know?
He just gives a bit of a shrug. I would not know that if I... Sorry. It is not something that I can necessarily foretell. You mortals are an erratic bunch to me, but if there is something else that you would desire, then I suppose I might be able to sort things out. Now, am I going to be bound here for the rest of the night, or may I leave?
No, you're not bound. You won't be bound for the rest of the night, I'm sure. But have you seen the Princess Sentinel? Have you seen him deal with mortals before? Any methods that he uses?
The prince? It has been millennia since the Fae and the mortal realms have combined. I don't believe that any of the Arch-Fae would necessarily... I myself am not old enough that I have been able to see how the Arch-Fae would deal with your kind, but... the prince is young, he is impulsive. I believe that you had some interactions with him upon your arrival.
Yes.
Then, honestly, you have had a more recent dealing with him than I have. He did always strike me as one who was very prideful, and I can only imagine you may be able to goad him into more rash actions than possible. And with that, he gives another grin, showing off his very unusually sharp teeth. But if worse comes to worse, with that, he kind of leans over and sniffs at Tinkeret, and then a little bit at Will as well. The two of you appear to be bearing the mark of the Storm Hag. You appear to be bearing the hand of favour from her. I do not believe that the Storm Hag will necessarily want such valuable resources as yourself damaged until such time as you can repay the favours.
Yeah, I did forget about those, didn't I?
Yes. Might be time to use a necklace again to return those favours.
Yeah. Well,
Any other questions? Good party members?
No, I'm satisfied. I just don't think it would be wise for you to leave the confines of this stronghold. I think it'd be best for you to wait and travel with us in the morning.
I strongly suggest that that's the case.
Alright, another strong suggestion. Give me 1 sec. Alright, that is an unnatural 20 versus that.
So it's a 19.
Okay, so Jesper wavers for a moment, and you can kind of see the outline of his own person begins to shimmer a little bit and become somewhat translucent. Thank you, but no, I believe that my unexpected stay here will come to an end now. I will meet you at the guild hall so that we may continue our departure from the city in the morning.
It's too late to try and persuade him.
You can try for one last Hail Mary. I'll allow it. Apparently not. Alright.
19.
So, it's a close thing, but it does look like Jesper is very intent on actually leaving.
Be careful.
He gives another derisive sniff, and with that begins to take off, zooming out the nearest window. You guys do hear a few yells and the thwack of a few bows, which seem to have been let off in his release, but you only hear a disappointed groan from the various men of the clans around you.
The roar of anger from Victor in his face is visible.
I explained to this guy what we're going to do. Has he returned?
Yes, he thinks of fish.
Do we need to be taking the whole party? The hag's pass is only for us, isn't it?
That's right. So just your party and Jesper as well.
All right. I can't recall, but I didn't give the expanding castle to the sea hag. I think it was offered that she never took it. What took it? It's property of the adventuring company. Do you think it would be worthwhile leaving it with Solopine to give some protection to our relic and the children?
I think they're less likely to require protection than we are.
Okay. Alright, well, we should prepare to move out in the morning.
What are other people's opinion on that?
I think we might need a small fortress in a pinch, maybe.
Against an arc bay? Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well, let's get ready and bed down and have a long rest before we go.
Instructors couldn't even figure out how to fish.
They were warriors, not fishermen, I guess. Not exactly smart. Like most people going to the army. They don't join because they're having any other skills.
Oof. A little bit harsh. Alrighty. So this will pretty much be your last bout of downtime before you guys are going to be able to be getting into the Feywilds itself. Was there anything specific you guys wanted to do, or would you like me to fast forward?
Go ahead.
Do I need anything?
I think it's worthwhile having more than one weapon, cold iron. That's good.
Yeah, we want to make sure we collect the cold iron weapons.
Yeah, well, was I getting a set of like claws or like teeth made cold iron, or was it just my glove? So I remember it was discussed, but I can't remember if it actually happened.
I would probably assume a club. It's just been the request that was provided was that you'll be providing your basic weapons. Anything further will basically be subject to a time. So anything fancy, you'll need to spend extra time doing.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's fine.
If Sam owes away for the last session, my rapier is warming and what arrows from my one bow, will they be cold iron? Or
I believe your rapier was being upgraded, and I think your longbow, yes. So everybody, I think, provided a melee and a ranged weapon.
Cool. So I'm just going to construct the box and maybe a dagger or something. Then.
Pretty much.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's my daggers and my crossbow box.
And my axe.
Can I request javelins?
You can probably... Ooh, actually, yes. You can probably request about 5 of those at max.
Cool. That's cool.
Now, the reason I snickered when you guys mentioned the magical fortress going against an Archfey is because I'm just now imagining the prince just leaving the front of his castle to find, an immediate castle directly in front of him, and you guys pretty much Monty Python Frenchmaning him.
I waved my genitals at you.
Your father was a hamster, and your mother smelled like elderberries. Alright, so time passes. The partition of the interrogation room is brought back down, and the children, as well as the relic, are removed back into that particular room. You can see that the majority of the warriors who are taking care of the inner defences are those of Clan Solvkling, while those who are taking the outer perimeter defences are those of Clan Coldstreak. It doesn't look like either the clan is trusting Coldstreak with their children, or perhaps it's that Clan Coldstreak does not necessarily want to be around children at the moment, considering their own failure on that aspect.
Yeah, right. I forgot that they all died. Ugh.
practice.
Oh, that's what you're doing. So you added in the uncommon glamour weave into the chat, and considering the context, I'm like, you're dressing up as a child from Clan Coldstreak?
No, I'm just gonna hide as the usual.
Fair enough. Alright. So, the work continues throughout the day and the night, and it looks like about 3 members of the combined clans are putting their forces together in order to ensure that your weapons and provisions are prepared for your departure in the morning. There are a number of attacks throughout the night, but none of them are particularly prevalent or dangerous, and it looks like the fellow clansmen are able to fight them off without any great hindrance. Would you guys like to involve yourselves with either of those for flavour, or are you getting your rest?
I've got a big fight coming up. I'm sleeping through.
They're sleeping like a babe. Huh?
I was going to give a quick moral boosting performance, if I may.
Alright.
I don't have it prepared.
Don't have it prepared, Rob? I'm very disappointed now.
I'm sorry.
You've had a month. What are you doing?
Oh, we were going to be doing this?
Alright. So, dawn approaches, and with the light of the sun beginning to peek over the horizon, the sky of the Feywild begins to brighten up into the intense gold that you guys are becoming, I suppose, at least less disconcerted towards. However, at that time, Solothime begins to rouse you from your sleep. Gentlemen, we have been able to finally complete your weaponry. Fortunately, we have been able to keep everything else intact. You should be able to find your weapons, if a little bit heavier, at least still functional.
Thank you, Solfarm. Yeah. Generally, I think we should press on and find Jesper and make sure that he's waiting for us at the guild hall.
Yeah, let's do that then.
I could hear you muttering. I couldn't hear what you were muttering, though.
Just then, I was wondering why I had no 20s, and I realise now, because I bent it on green.
Oh, yep. Alright. So, with that in mind, you guys depart the headquarters for presumably the final time. You have been provided 3 days' ration, as much as can be kind of spared from the main resources of the clans, and as well as your upgraded weapons, which are now capable of slaying Fey. Now, Jesper is indeed waiting for you at the guild hall, looking for all intents and purposes as if he has pretty much been waiting for you ever since he departed the headquarters as of yesterday. When you arrive in the guild hall, he immediately turns to face you, and keeping an eye at the very least on Rithgar, he simply arches an eyebrow in Tinkrit's direction. So, are we leaving today, or should I expect more roughhousing and bringing my honour into question?
I don't know, is that what normally happens to you?
He stops for a moment before shrugging. Well, you know what, I can't really refute that one. Are we prepared to leave?
Yes. Let's leave.
Alright. So, the trip down to the harbour is a trip much like the previous day towards the headquarters. You see a variety of Fae, but it looks like their numbers are beginning to coalesce in the keep at the top of the city, which, from what you can see, looks to be slowly being torn apart by the various Fae. You're not entirely sure why that might be the case, but at the very least it's keeping them out of your business and out of your pathway as well. The closer you get to the exit to Thogcha and the waterways, the more nervously Jesper begins to shift, until you're only a few minutes away and you can see his wings buzz on the occasion, almost like a dragonfly with how rapidly they move.
Nervous are you, mate?
Jesper spares a glance for Will. Well, if you were currently in the bad books with one of the Archfey, would you currently be heading towards her, or would you prefer to be as far away from her as possible?
Good, that's fair. Remind me, why are you in the bad books again?
He gives a bit of a smirk. I was requested to retrieve some items from her coffers. She was not overly impressed by the fact that I was capable of doing so.
Right. And who asked you to retrieve them?
The Autumn Prince.
That makes sense. So, what did you get out of it, other than obviously the items themselves?
There is a quick pause. I honestly did receive the chance to be one of the ones to raid the Storm Hag's palace. It is not many people who can honestly say that they've done so and successfully gotten away from it. Mostly the Storm Hag is a little bit more protective of her goods.
Okay then. Well, look, what you do in your spare time is none of my business, so feel free to ignore any further questioning by me, because you know what, I don't care anymore. you bored me. I was interested, and you lost me when you know what, don't worry about it.
You receive a sharp grin back. Well, what can I say? Caring isn't exactly part of our contract, so...
I walk with Tinkering more slightly ahead of the group with him. Awfully nervy for a player who's walking away from the danger, isn't he?
He is.
Maybe I should pop ahead and see if there's anything waiting for us. Although I don't distrust him, I don't trust the fact that he hasn't somehow given away our path today, even unintentionally.
We drilled him quite hard yesterday and had no intention of doing us any harm. And I'm quite certain my magic is strong at that point.
Dan, the thing that lives in my head.
Yep.
Do you know this guy? Or do I know anything about this guy from her?
Roll me an insight. $17. Alright. So, something inside of you feels... Oh. Alright, we got a double 20. Sorry, 2 d20s being rolled, listeners, not 2 nat 20s being rolled. Which, incidentally, did actually happen in my home D&D game yesterday. Yeah, somebody rolled advantage and got 2 nat 20s. Alrighty. So, with a 17, Rithgar, the presence that's within you feels intensely comfortable, as if they do not even tolerate or contemplate the idea that Jesper would be the one to break the parameters of the contract. So long as you leave the city with him safely, then you should not fear any problem.
Is there anything like any like fragments of memory or anything like that that I could share to both freak him out a bit and also make him, but also, yeah, to indicate that he's the presence of the Fae are still with.
Right. So, Jesper would have belonged to the court of the Autumnal Prince, so that means that the Fae that is currently that you slew would not really have any idea about him unless he kind of made a big name for himself. However, he would be considered a lesser Fae, and the one that you slew is, for lack of term, an Archfey. Basically, that means that she would have outranked him in sheer social standing and power by many magnitudes. So even if he thinks he's the biggest fish on the playground, you are the bigger fish.
He doesn't even know who else is in there.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so you guys are able to make it through the walls of Thulcha. Directly in front of you, you can see the ruined gates, which are currently saturated and waterlogged. It looks like the Storm Hag has been taking quite a lot of fun in desecrating and destroying the various walls and bridges. However, it looks like she has left enough intact that you should be able to have a steady path out of there once she orders the waters to recede. Now, the closer you get, the more easily you're able to see that the waters in front of you are moving, shifting in a way that is definitely not natural for standard fluids. And as you get right up to the boundaries of the water, there is an abrupt splash, and the Storm Hag herself emerges from the waves in order to look down at you as you arrive. So there's our sorry bunch of mortals. It took you a little bit longer to get here than I was anticipating.
Yes. We then travel the plains quite easily.
So with that, she just reaches down and pats you almost motherly on the cheek. There. I'm sure you'll get the hang of it sometime soon. So with that, she cracks her knuckles and with an almost idle wave at the water, she causes the water to recede, allowing a quick path out of the city itself. Now keep in mind, dears, you will not be able to get back into the city unless you, for whatever reason, want to initiate a contract with me again. If that is the case, then just seek out dear old Triton, my pet, and he might be requested or encouraged to let you back into my realm, or not.
Thank you.
So with that, she gives Tinkrit another little bit of a wink. Oh, look at you. You've learnt so many manners in the last few days. If you had been like this within my realm, then you might have also been invited to stay, but all I can really say from here is stay on the path, boys, and you are likely to meet the prince at some point. I would wish you luck, but mortals defeating an Archfey is a little bit more of the realm of story tales, don't you think?
Any tips for us, O mighty one?
She pauses for a moment, and you can see a look of calculation. If you do require help, then I may be able to provide it, if you're willing to have another favour added to your tally. Aside from that, the prince is not a fan of flames. He is the representative of autumn and fall and all the powers it entails, and with that you can probably expect, at the very least, him to use the winds against you. But just think of what you might encounter in fall and autumn, and I believe that you should be able to sort everything out. You're a bunch of clever young lads.
Thank you again. If we require your help, then I think trading a favour would be wise. Especially considering you think our likelihood of success is.
She doesn't answer to that one. She just gives you a bit more of a grin before she just abruptly disappears back into the water itself.
Oh, there she goes.
So, in the back, Jesper, at this entire time, has been somewhat stiff, but upon her disappearance, he lets out an audible sigh of relief before he gives you all another grin. Well, that seems sorted. Let us cross, and with that, I believe our contract will be complete.
Hold up, I'm look at the other side.
Sorry, say again?
I said, hold up there, this time. The contract's not concluded until we reach the Feywild.
Well, all we need to do is cross this, and we'll be there, so... He pauses for a moment, and he looks at the lot of you. Have any of you lot had any particular interactions with trees that big? I understand some of you resemble monkeys more than others.
I can't say that I've had anything to do with it. No.
Well, this will be a grand adventure for all of you, I suppose. Well,
I cast my illusion on him so he grows a monkey's tail and big round ears and stick the illusion of him on the monkey face.
I start playing my bagpipes like an organ grinder. Organ grinder music.
organ grinder music. Alright, that's a 35, so against all odds, bagpipes begin to sound like organ grinder music. Alright. He is a bit too distracted to reply to that one, but he takes his first step upon the now bared riverbed. It does look like the riverbed actually does have cobbled stone upon it, so it does make for a relatively easy passage, even though numerous parts of it are slickened down. Now, the journey across does not take long. It's only about 5 minutes, and as soon as the last of the party takes their step upon the opposing riverbank, the water splashes back down with an immense crash, with enough force that you can see that if anybody had properly been there, then it's likely they would have been either crushed or wiped away.
I was shot into the air. Happy squeal.
No wave pools here. Alright. So sorry?
You want next to the side then?
You are. So, now that you're in the Feywilds properly, you are able to, I suppose, admire the sheer beauty and extravagance that seems to infest the Feywild itself. In comparison to the Monday Plain, everything here just seems brighter, more colourful, and almost, I suppose, awe-inspiring to see. They should have sent a poet and all that jazz, is generally the function, what you guys would see. Now, surrounding you, there are incredibly tall redwood trees, incredibly thick around, enough that the party would be able to join hands, stretch all around the trunk, but still not be able to meet each other. The redwoods...
We don't try that, Sam.
Sorry?
We don't do that.
Oh, no, I assumed not, but, you know.
Oh.
Just saying that if you did, it still wouldn't be, there. Aside from that, the trees are pretty much up a ridiculous height, about between 100 to 200 feet tall, and up the top you can see a lustrous verdant green leaves, which makes up the treetops up there. You are able to hear incredibly beautiful music being whistled by the surrounding wildlife, and in the distance you can also see here and there various creatures such as a silver-coloured doe and her golden-coloured fawn, which abruptly bound off into the undergrowth.
Little white heart.
The road is clear before us.
Correct.
Onward.
Alright. So, with that, Jesper very quickly turns and gives everybody an almost mocking bow to the level of, as to how deep he actually bows. Well, with that, gentlemen, I believe our contract is finally complete.
Can I try out his bow?
Yes, you may. With a 19, let's see what he can get instead. I am honestly going to assume you'll win this unless he gets an at 20, so... he got a 5. So, with that, you are well and truly able to outdo his bow with infinite more grace and poise than he does. He just gives you a bit of a scowl before he straightens up and his wings begin to buzz. Well, I will not bother you anymore. Good luck with the prince, and if we're lucky, I suppose that we'll never see each other again.
That would be lovely.
And with that, Jesper disappears. He begins flying off into the rooftops itself, and just before he disappears out of sight, he does turn in mid-air, and abruptly his visage turns into that of Breeze, the halfling. He gives a bit of a cheeky wink before he just disappears entirely.
Sorry. That was that actually Breeze, or I'm so confused as to who he actually was. For someone who was so adamant that he would never, that he was who he was and was upholding the contract and that, he was awfully, evasive.
Yes, he was. And that we maybe not being able to answer.
He wants us to follow you on.
Oh, he's gone now, not our problem. Let's continue on.
Let's continue.
Excellent.
So, the stone...
Do we want to have someone up high to increase our view down the road?
You want to move? Yes, you can.
I'm up.
I'll go with him.
So,
Could I climb a tree and grow on that? Using my cartography?
You can do so, but it will take a little bit of time if you're willing to spend time here.
No, Rifka, I think that Will and I in the sky will have a better view than we will from even the top of the tree.
I would like to use my natural ability to make enough.
You will one day, mate. You will one day.
Matt, as you go. Matt, as you go.
That's what I meant.
You're mine.
Oh.
No. We want you focused on making sure we're not assaulted by demons as we progress along the path. That sound good? Good stuff?
That's fantastic.
Excellent. I go from hovering and I rise. How high up are these redwoods?
Between 100 to 200 feet tall. So they are freaking immense.
Are they covering over the road, or is the road fairly clear?
The road itself is fairly clear. Basically, it goes between the redwoods themselves, but the very tip top of the trees themselves do occasionally overhang over the road.
Alright, I'm going to go up 250, 300 feet, and what do I see when I look around?
Alright. So, surrounding you, you can see that the forest that Thogcha is currently in seems to extend for quite a distance. However, you are able to also see that beyond the forest, there appears to be a construct which seems to be made out of a white stone. In the reflected glare that is coming off the rest of the Feywilds, it is very prominent, I suppose, and stands out fairly noticeably from among the rest of the wilderness. It looks like the castle itself is uphill and currently situated on a bluff.
And I can see the road going towards it, and am I able to estimate how far away it is?
So, by your rough...
Travel-wise, travel-wise.
Thanks, mate.
Yep. Hit me up with a survival.
You'll have to hit me up with this.
Oh, herp-de-derp-derp, don't mind me. Survival, +1. Oh, this will be fun. And that's a nat 20.
Fantastic.
Alright, would you like to use that or save that?
So,
Alright. So, with a nat 20, your keen eye is able to take a rough estimate in that it looks like the castle appears to be about 5 days' travel from here. However, with your perception, you frown for a moment before you realise that it looks like the landscape below you seems to very slowly be shifting around a little bit. The path itself almost seems to undulate as it seems to wriggle its way back and forth through the trees. Sometimes the path gets lost among the trees itself. Sometimes it is very obvious exactly where it is.
Yep, sorry, you were going to say something?
In the distance, you can also see a number of caves, which, from your knowledge of general terrain, you ascertain must lead deep under the earth.
Alright, can I see anything else looking around that's caught my attention a little?
Give me a quick sec. Do. Alright, yes there is actually. So, in random parts, particularly stretches where the pathway is very clear, it takes you a moment and you need to sharpen your vision in order to do so, but you are able to see what looks like a fine, thick haze over certain sections of the pathway. It takes you a moment to identify that it looks like a fairly intense level of spores, so either pollen or fungal spores itself, seems to be drifting over the pathway. You're not entirely sure exactly what they are. It doesn't look like it belongs to any plant species that you recognize, but you do get a bad feeling from those sections where it does actually interact with the pathway.
Do those sections occur after the caves or before the caves?
They occur after the caves.
Okay. Do I see any Fae at all flitting about, or does it seem to be fairly clear of Fae?
So far, it does seem to be fairly clear, though you are able to see a variety of Fae of species which did not look to have been part of the invasion force of Thogcha. Here and there, you can see a few dryads which are currently lounging around, accompanied by satyrs. On the occasion, you can see a hamadryad, which is currently residing by various pools of water and some streams. You note that down for further investigation. It doesn't look like any of them seem to be, at the current time, overly aggressive, but you can also see a variety of natural species who are different enough to sort of trigger whatever gut feeling you have about whether they may be normal creatures or Fae or not.
Okay. I'm going to cast Minor Illusion to try and do a map while I'm in the sky of what I've seen and put in marks where stuff is. And I'm in order to take down to Rifta, to let Rifta utilise his cartography skills to give us as good a map as he can of what's ahead.
Alright.
You only do 30 feet near him and then you can put it in front of him.
Yeah.
You can still remain in the sky.
Alright.
Yeah, but I'm 300 feet up in the sky at the moment.
I will do a deception check on your behalf to confirm how detailed and accurate the map will be. Yes, I am on Solturum. That is a 16. Alright, so all the major landmarks will be fairly prevalent. You do not bother noting down things like where the local animals are currently.
Alright, I shoot back down and move the illusion over to Rifta and say, Rifta, and inform the party what I've seen while I'm explaining what's on the map. And so, Rifta, are you able to make a decent map for us out of this? The road may not be too accurate as it seems to be undulating in parts and moving about in the forest. but it looks like it also looks like there might be something which gave me a bad feeling. Maybe fungus spores, some other type of fog covering parts of the road. I talk about an advisor of the cave entrances. Ripka?
Ripka was incredibly good company by this. Not as that much as just do with the local animals, but attempt to draw on that. Is that a survival skill?
Sorry?
Is that survival? So enough drawing?
I think you are able to roll with just a cartographer skill. I don't know what that comes under. I would probably just say dexterity because you're just copying at this point.
I think it's whatever. Yeah. Cartography tool, I think it's your proficiency bonus if you're proficient with it, plus whatever like your bonus to whatever stat it uses.
Intelligence?
Cartographer.
National title with them.
That's great.
He says no.
That's another nat 20.
Sorry, what were you saying? What was that?
Hey, that brings your total up to 6, so you're currently leading the, oh wait, no, yeah. I was about to say that you're beating everybody else combined, but you're not quite there. Alright, so with a nat 20, would you like to save it or use it? Alrighty.
No, I'll save it.
Okay, so you want to save it?
He says the second worker runs screams now.
He wants to use it, but he's going to say it.
Alright, you are going to be able to create a perfect map based on the illusion which has been provided to you by Solturum. You do decide to fancy it up a little bit and provide the topological features as well, so you know, the whole squiggly line thing to indicate hills and so forth.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Well, look, let's merge on because we've got a decision we need to make, which is do we continue on the path to the Audible Castle, or do we take the tunnels which will take us into the Goblin King's domain? Given that Westeros, or that's they have this
Goblin King? I mean the Autumn King.
no, if we were to take the underground path, it would take us into the Goblin King's domain. That's what she said.
You want to kill Goblin?
Well, let's go through. Run the risk of losing the path and running into what looks like a foul fog, or going underground towards the castle, which was one of the paths suggested by the Hound.
Or flying over the top?
When did you learn how to fly?
Like my bagpipes can make me fly? I've been able to fly long before you've been able to.
I don't really know what comes to that.
I just haven't gone on about it, that's all. So, how many of us can fly?
I think everyone except for Rivka.
Oh, wait a second. No, I've got a whip-coated flying. I can give it to Ripka.
Is it human?
Think so, yes, it does.
I don't know. I can turn a big bird and you can ride with me if you like.
My broom can hold 400 pounds, so...
Are they big flightless? Sorry.
No, big bird. Actually, he can fly. Did you know that?
I feel like the ball. Right now, I think I'll go with the bird.
Is it the first time a bird will have picked you up?
Tish.
With a bit close to the ball.
Sorry.
Alright. This is going to be we're a squadron now. Tinker and Ciruimon.
Alright, so you guys going to be flying over the woods?
Well, that seems to be the consensus, isn't it, John?
You do, sir.
Now, how long can you stay as a large bird, Mr. Fables?
I believe it is. Hang on, I think it's either 4 or 8 hours.
So we've got 5 days of flying if we're going to do it this way.
4 hours, and I can do it twice a day, so 8 hours in total.
Right.
I can fly for 10 minutes.
Looks like you're going. Yeah, looks like you're going in the front.
That's amazing. It's amazing, Tinker. I'm so surprised we haven't pulled that killer.
I actually have. I saved you from falling down that giant well.
Oh, so long ago.
I have no recollection of that.
Yeah,
It doesn't sound like something I would do, Tinker.
you back jet it so often. It's amazing you don't remember anything. Okay,
I've never been away for it.
also. Okay, so I can't fly unless I pop on sails with Broom.
Provide Norlock, you've got enough carrying capacity.
Yeah, it should be fine. It's worst case scenario, just jump some magic holding.
I saw my gear in the eye bag of holding.
And I'll just stick a straw out the top so you can breathe.
Light.
Alright, let's try it. Let's see if this works.
Alrighty. So, the group begins to make their arrangements in order to fly and go over the majority of the wilderness. Now, it starts out fairly well, and you guys are able to get ahead of where you currently are. But does anybody currently have a passive perception of 16 or higher?
Yes.
Yep. Alright. About 3 hours into flying, you begin to notice that the various thermals and air currents are currently beginning to bolster and buffer you in a bit of a worrying way. It doesn't take you much to realize that it doesn't take much to realize that it appears that there seems to be an autumn storm currently on the way.
It's a bad blowjob.
Right. Well, autumn storm away. What are we going to do?
I just want to make sure that we were warned that this guy was really powerful with wind, so then we put to the air.
You'll never expect it.
Yeah. The bamboozle.
Well, I'm glad one of you pointed it out, so... Alright. Now...
Let's descend.
So you begin to make the descent rapidly, and in about the 5 to 10 minutes it takes for you to actually make your way down to the ground, you are able to see that the winds seem to be rapidly picking up and bolstering around quite a lot of the foliage. It looks like this storm that might be coming in could be borderlining on a hurricane.
Small expanding fortress time, I would think.
Same.
Sam, that's in my equipment.
Yep, give me a sec, let me bring it out. Nope, that's not the page I need. Saturn. You can want...
I want a castle. It's reusable.
Okay, Dan's Instant Fortress. Listeners, for this one, you can use an action to place this 1-inch metal cube on the ground and speak its command word. The cube rapidly grows into a fortress that remains until you use an action to speak the command word that dismisses it, which only works if the fortress is empty. So, the fortress is a square tower, 20 feet on a side and 30 feet high, with arrow slits on all sides and a battlement atop of it. Its interior is divided into 2 floors, with a ladder running along one wall to connect them. The ladder ends at a trapdoor leading to the roof. When activated, the tower has a small door on the side facing you. The door opens only at your command, which you can speak as a bonus action. It's immune to knock and similar magics. Each creature in the area, blah 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 blah. It's made of adamantium and its magic prevents it from being tipped over. Okay, easy enough. So, in this case, what would the command word be?
The command home.
Oh.
Way more wholesome than I was expecting.
In Draconic.
Okay.
So less cute, more.
I growl out the command word and play in Draconic.
Alrighty. And would you like to flavour up the tower that appears?
And I take out a small little cube, place it on the ground, and I tell everyone to stand back behind me. I speak the command word in Draconic acclaim, and the cube starts slightly glowing, and it rises up into the air and starts spinning slowly and then spinning more rapidly as it does so. It seems to expand. It expands into a 20 by 30 foot adamantium tower, which is crafted to look like the keep of one of the high elven societies, covered with intricate adamantium work of swirls and various images of high elven culture.
Alright.
Yeah, who would have known?
So,
Yeah.
Didn't we get this from Olga?
No, you got it for killing the thing. You got it from like the king or some shit.
Did we?
you guys traded in 20s, and then that's how you got it, I think, is from the king, yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think the story we made was what was your Ocker Barbarian work?
Oh, Norts.
Yeah, Norts. We got it on the travel north. Remember when we met Norts in a bar?
Oh yeah.
And we got him drunk. He was bitching about how he did this huge job for a wizard, and all he got in return was this tiny little parcel, and he thought it was shit, and we exchanged it to him for a slab of beer and a meat pie. That's now Karen's turn.
Noted. And incidentally, it also now made me crave meat pie.
Pyro?
Alright.
Go in, gentlemen, I open the door and walk in.
So, due to it being a manifested magical area, there is nothing in the way of furniture or any comfort, so to speak. The wind is whistling rather shrilly through the various slits in the wall, and unfortunately it doesn't look like there's any way to necessarily cover those up with the resources that you would have on you at the moment. However, it does provide you with a fairly large area, which is at the very least out of the way of this incoming storm.
I'm going to cast a cliff of warding outside the door,
Alright.
just because I want to. Now, the heat doesn't like fire, so let's cast a fire one.
Now I just had the mental image. Just knocking at the door. Hello, Arcfiend cookies. Are you adventurers here to kill me?
I don't know what all those rolls are for.
Yeah, well, you got a roll of GFB, Hex 6, and I'm very impressed by the Hex 6. Oh, hello, there it goes.
Yeah, that's good, close to there.
Okay. I'm assuming the roll was if, it had actually triggered.
Yeah, I think that must have worked.
Easy. Alright, so you guys only probably have maybe 5 or 10 minutes before the winds outside get a little bit too dangerous for you to gather up anything. Did you want your characters to try and gather up resources while they can, or just rely on their supplies?
Gather up resources for me. Sam, how long did you say you were travelling before you were across the way?
About 3 hours.
And so it looks like it was 5 days walk.
Mm-hmm.
How far was it now? Would you go across the coastline, so to speak?
Yep, so I'm basically just taking into account that flying is going to get you a little bit further. You have functionally made up, you know what, I'll just make this easy for myself. You've accounted for about 6 hours of walking. So you have about 4.2 days of standard travel by foot to arrive.
Around that as well.
Sorry, what?
He said he can gather supplies.
And then he left.
Okay.
I don't think that was gaming or literally.
No, sorry, I think there was a couple of sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, do we know how far away are we from the caves?
The caves? So the caves would be about an hour's walk, so half an hour flight.
Right, gentlemen, let's
I just
see
got
what
the
we can.
action for gathering stuff with Gar. It's 1d8 now.
Wonderful. Should I make my third survival check of today and potentially my entire D&D experience? Oh,
Well, a 22. Alright. So, Rithgar, you are going to be able to find enough supplies nearby that you'll be able to cover not only your own needs, but that of your comrades as well. As you are heading out and about, you head towards the nearest water source, which is only maybe about 2 minutes away, a fairly sedate, placid-looking lake, despite the wind that's actually blowing by. However, something inside you tells you to avoid that lake, and as you just resolutely walk by it, you see a blue-haired naked female poke her head out of that lake and give you a bit of a lecherous wink as you go by. You are able to gather water from the feeding river instead, and are able to make a very quick 2 shots to bring down 2 deer which were finding their own refuge from the oncoming storm.
I'll go back and throw the we're gonna have to throw the deer inside the castle. Oh,
Just do it up on the battlements. The wind will blow away the blood.
When he's done, I just take whatever the hell mess he's made and just clean it all up.
That makes it easier as well.
While this is going on, I'm rapidly mage handing twigs and branches from the slide into the bushes.
Alright.
Sounds like a good.
So, within 15 minutes of receiving notice that this storm is coming, you guys have been able to set up your own little refuge from it, and are able to set up at least a fire area as well as your food sources. It is a bit uncomfortable with the wind, which does whistle very loudly through the slits in the walls, but it's much better than actually being outside.
What about then?
So wait this out.
It's only about 5 minutes after Rithgar returns that you can hear that the storm seems to be entering into its full power, and abruptly lightning and thunder begins to crash in the distance. The wind picks up into an immense howling noise, which does rattle the door, but the door is strong enough to not actually be swung open.
Do we want to try and stuff the slits or anything, though?
No, let's just wait. If we're at the full peak of the storm, let's just wait for it to pass. We're not going to be sleeping now.
Why not?
Oh, because it's only about midday.
Or why not take a chance? We may take our chance to do it.
Short rest.
can I cast detect magic as a victory thing? To try and see the provenance of this storm?
Sure.
If you want, I've got it as an at will. Speak faster.
You've got a what?
I've got detect magic as a at will.
Oh, at will. Yep.
What's that mean?
So it's basically a cantrip for me.
Come on, Addison. I already made that pun earlier in the campaign, remember?
Couldn't pass that rule.
Yep. Or rather, fire at will at that time. Alrighty. So, Rithgar and Norloth, do you both want to cast it, or just one of you?
I can help with it, so yeah, I'll pass it.
Alright, so the both of you. Alright, so as you begin to spread your magic out into the surrounding environment, it takes you some time to get past the magic of the fortress itself, but once it does permeate into the outside area, you are able to ascertain that the immediate area around you is absolutely saturated with power and magic. You aren't really able to recognize any particular wind magic. It just feels like this particular area is more powerful, more magical than pretty much any area in the mundane plane that you've ever encountered. So, can I get the two of you to please roll me an Arcana check?
That's the first one there.
Yep, so an 11 for Rithgar. Oh, you did not roll well for that one. But Norloth, on the other hand, rolled an 18. Let me have a check.
Guy, you still got what's his name? Bardic Inspiration, what gave you?
Alright.
Now 1d8.
So, Norloth, it takes you a moment to pick your way through the ambient magic of the local area, but it does tell you that the magic of the Feywild seems to be far more potent than what you can expect to encounter on the mundane plane. As a result, it is going to have an effect on any spells you do happen to cast. You and your comrades will need to take great care to actually ensure you're casting spells without accidentally overcharging them, which could cause a rather powerful magical backlash. However, you do believe that you should be able to at least compensate for your own spells, and as a result keep them relatively intact. Now, in addition to that, with your 18, once you have been able to ascertain exactly what belongs to the Feywild and what doesn't, your magical senses begin to probe into the clouds and the weather around you. And you are able to feel that there seems to be a hypersaturation of elemental energy going through them. It doesn't appear that this storm is natural to the Feywilds. What flavour would you like to provide to everyone when you explain that?
Honestly, I'll just pretty much do the same way you did. Just this storm is not natural. We should be wary about casting spells. They may.
Who knows what comes?
Deep silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not abruptly Eldritch blasting someone?
I just accidentally clicked it, sorry.
It's all good. Tinkrit sneezes, and you abrupt this from the surprise. You Eldritch blast him.
It's more like I've had bagpipes.
I'd like to have a discussion with Morlock about the impact of the Feywild on magic and what he recommends I, as a fellow sorcerer, should do to ensure there's no use to my spellcasting.
Yeah. Do you want me to just do another Arcana roll for that, Sam, or?
Yep. Do that one at disadvantage, though, since it's not necessarily your magic.
Yeah, still 17.
Yep, apparently 17s. Alright, so, in this case, you don't have quite as good a handle on the on their particular magic as you do yours. You might be able to coach them through being able to handle their magic in this saturated area, but it's likely going to take you at least a day or so to properly do the calculations to ensure that they can do it without harm.
Thank you.
No worries.
Alright, the hours pass. I'm assuming you guys don't have anything else that you want to do? Alright, the hours pass and the storm outside doesn't seem to be letting up. If anything, it does seem to be growing more and more intense. There is various rattling at the door, and however, your wards do not actually trigger at any particular time, Tinker. The outside, it begins to grow darker and darker, and aside from that, you guys are pretty much stuck in here.
Well, generally, no surprise to you, but I am going to go to sleep.
Most.
I'm surprised that you're not already asleep.
Yeah, you know.
And is there anything, would we be taking damage if we were walking out on the storm? Like, is there hail or is there falling tree branches? Or...
So from the limited view you're able to get from outside, you can see that the storm seems to be doing quite a number on the surrounding area. There are quite a number of falling branches. It does look like the rain seems to be falling heavily enough that, though not quite hail, it is still fairly heavy, to the point where you can't really see more than about 5 or 10 feet away from the perimeter of the tower itself. The winds, like I said, are currently blowing things around, and the only time you are able to see further than the 5 or 10 feet from the tower is when a crash of lightning goes through and illuminates the local area.
So yeah, turning to the night, I think we should have a watch system.
I'll take the morning. I'll take the morning, the early morning.
I'll just say it for all of them.
Yeah, I'll sleep through all.
I'll stay awake for the first time with Trinity old boy and chat about where we were there.
I'll just stay awake for the whole thing with detect magic on.
Alrighty. So, the night passes. The storm does not let up. You can hear lightning strike various times throughout the night, and it sounds like the lightning is fairly close, but it doesn't actually come close to actually striking the tower itself. It is enough that your sleep does get a little bit disjointed from the thunder that crashes. Can I please get a Constitution saving throw from everyone? Everyone who's electing to sleep.
Can I suggest that I should get a roll at advantage given my legendary sleeping powers?
Sure, I'll allow that.
Oh shit. Guess what? I'm lucky now, bitch. I'm not getting more ones.
Alrighty. So that's a 17 from Rithgar, and that 1 for Will. A 50.
No, I'm lucky.
Oh, you're lucky?
I took the lucky thing. I hit level 13.
Oh, okay, you took lucky. Got it.
Yeah. So it's 12 now.
Yep, there it is. Alrighty, cool. Lucky you. You have 3 luck points. Whenever you make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can spend 1 to roll an additional d20, and you determine which dice to use. Okay, so you're using one of those points, and you've got a 12. Easy. Alright, so... Will... He has problems with the lightning striking quite so close. He does get a somewhat decent night's sleep, but frankly it's probably not going to do him any benefit, when he actually needs to do anything particularly strong. So I'm going to give you disadvantage on strength checks just until you can get a full night's sleep, just because I'm not willing to give you a full level of exhaustion just for that. Alright.
What about that? Any difference?
Song of Rest? Yes, I will allow that use if you would like. With a Song of Rest, Addison, roll your Constitution saving throw again then. For a 13. Alright.
Hell.
Okay, so a little bit better, but same outcome, unfortunately.
It's okay.
Alright, for everybody else who functionally got 15 or higher, wait, who are we missing? Solturum and Rithgar. Wait, Rithgar? No, not Rithgar.
You're such a remember.
Oh, yep, I'm rolling Solturum. Herp derp 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 derp. Wow, Solturum, you have a good Constitution. There you go, you got a 15. Alright, and...
As I roll the second dice and I'm rolling the advantage.
Oh, yes, true. And that's 21. Perfect. Alright, Solturum is able to sleep through the night like a baby.
Of course.
As usual.
Alright. So for everyone else, aside from Will, you are able to pass the night at least, not necessarily comfortably, but enough that you are able to get a full night's sleep. Will, you're going to look a little bit haggard in the morning, but again, you are otherwise fine. Now, once morning comes, you are not really able to detect any lessening in the fury of the storm which is going on outside.
What do you want to do, chats? Try and wait it out?
No, I think it's way enough.
Yeah, if it's the occurrences, he's just going to keep this up until we move.
Well, we might be draining his strength while we're sitting around here.
Look, well, maybe. But
Well,
we don't know how he's
go
going
underground. Anyone have like shape elf or something like that?
If I pick my spells to tell it, or try and pick it.
If you go towards the electricity really later. In the later.
with that.
She's a dame.
She's a water player. She's some sort of water player that she's not interested in your personality with that. You know.
Doesn't have one, does he?
No, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
right.
Not like that.
Aiming at them.
Well, you've got two.
Look, I think we need to try and make a dash for the caves.
Hang on. So, is this storm for, like, conceivably, is there, like, a focus? Are we in the eye of the storm, or, like, is there a foreseeable end? Can we see, like, the edge of the sky where the storm ends? Or is it just continuous as far as...
Perception-wise, again, you guys can only see about 5 to 10 feet away, but apparently Rithgar just got a nat 20 again on survival. You're doing good with your survivals tonight, aren't you, Michael?
Hey, can I make a survival check?
Well, if you would like, apparently. Alright, with a nat 20. What can we do? So, Rithgar, using your survival, you are able to check around and you can see that it looks like there doesn't seem to be a proper eye of the storm. At the moment, it looks like the storm itself seems to just be unnaturally blowing directly into the area that you guys are currently in. So he's not really leaving a way for you guys to get to safety in the eyes of the storm. That being said, if you are able to battle through the storm itself and get around the first mountain here, then the mountain will be pretty much blocking the storm itself.
If I cast that anything, would that give us advantage on trying to dodge, the wilds, the falling trees, etc.? If
If you would like to cash that in, then yes, I will pretty much give you guys free passage to make your way through the Feywild and without any hazards, unless you can think of an alternative that you would prefer instead. Yep. All right. Well, provide me the flavor. How are you guys going to come to the process of collapsing your camp and bearing it out?
I think we should tie ourselves together to be on the safe side, especially particularly light people.
I think I'd also like to leave some stuff inside the castle to see what happens to it.
The castle will not collapse unless it's empty.
Yeah, it says it in the thing.
Also, guys, you guys get to fly Tinker It like a kite.
Alright, let's get out of here, guys, and work ourselves together, and I am going to speak the magic draconic word, and collapse the castle.
Yep. Alright.
What a cool word.
Sorry?
You taught us all the word.
No.
Maybe that you
Look, I dragged people to one side. The company of the company. This is the word. Let's just until these members are well and truly demonstrated their loyalty to the company. Let's just keep it to ourselves.
we're doing that right now, okay?
Alright.
Let's do that then. Keep it to us.
Okay, you collapse the tower down and step out into the howling tempest that you presume the Autumn Prince has sent against you. Now, as you do step out into it, you immediately feel the wind clawing at your armor and your clothing, as if it's just attempting to tug you up and into the sky and out of sight. You have bound yourselves together, and as a result, you are able to safely begin staggering your way, mostly due to the superior weight of Rithgar and Will, because I'm assuming that those are probably the two heaviest characters that you guys have among you. Also, I think Rithgar wears heavy armor, don't you?
No.
No, really? Huh. Noted. Alright, well.
I don't think I wear anything. Good lord. So the Fables first, that's what it is.
What's in your armor class?
Well, that's a 13.
Oh, wow, you don't wear armor.
Yeah. What that is.
Because you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Demon Slayer, he probably wears heavy armor, but nope. That teaches me to make assumptions.
Oh, because they passed me down.
Ah, there we go. Alright, well, in that case, Michael, you're the one who rolled the nat 20. Hit us with the flavor as you guys stagger through this outright tempest attempting to drag you away.
What I'm imagining is that there is, like this is still at the will of the consciousness. So there is going to be a natural, there is going to be even if it's subconscious, but a rhythm to it. And with that nat 20, which is sort of identify that rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
sort of running from, Leah the rock to big trees or whatever, so in between the natural, or the temporary pauses.
Yep, alright. Alright, so the wind howls among you, and it slows down your travel by an exponential rate, but after several hours where you can barely hear each other, even screaming at the top of your lungs, the wind abruptly dies down as you guys finally put the closest mountain and several trees between you and the tempest. There were a number of times where you were very close to being struck by lightning, to being hit by immense fallen tree boughs, but Rithgar, against all odds, was able to apparently predict that each time and very rapidly able to pull people out of harm's way. All right. So,
That's why we're called the aristocrats.
what?
There was not enough grotesque sex in that description. Well,
No, but I was telling a joke when I was really loud. I just said the punchline and got quiet.
Oh, got it. Tish. All right. Well, with you guys safely out of the storm now, you guys can still hear it whistling and raging from here, but it doesn't look like the storm is currently following on. It is still fairly dark and overcast where you are, but you're safe from the wind itself. It is still raining, however, as well. Now, since it is 9:30, would you guys like to take a quick 10-minute break?
Sure. Yes, please.
Alright, so you guys have been able to battle your way through the Tempest, and you've been able to encounter the relative safety of the mountain. Again, the storm hasn't really followed you around the mountain, and at least for now you have a little bit of breathing space. It is still raining very heavily, but you, at the very least, are out of the majority of the wind, and it seems that most of the lightning was also localized to the rough area that you guys were in before.
well, look, I don't think we're bound to a frustrating thing because he's called this huge tempest and had it planned for Wales, and well, some of us were sleeping soundly tucked up in our bedroom.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk for yourself.
So Pro doesn't wake up, or do we just drag him through the week?
I'm never dragged anywhere. Unless I'm unconscious and I fall down a well, I can't walk.
A wizard is never dragged.
Alright, so whereabouts in the map now? Just go roughly, without taking the map out and searching it, whereabouts are we placed? Firstly, with reference to those caves.
Alright, so in reference to the cave entrance would be a little bit further back within the area which is currently being hit by the lightning and the wind. However, it's only about maybe half an hour's trip from where you are at the moment. If you do continue on, then you are probably getting a little bit more, maybe half a day's travel from the location which Ciruimon previously saw the spores currently locating.
I think I heard goblins being overstored.
Yeah, you can reason with goblins, not spores.
How large were those areas that I saw that were being covered with the spores?
They were significantly large. In the cases where they overlapped with the pathway, then it would have driven you probably maybe half a mile off of the path in order to try and skirt around them. So you would have entered into the Feywild forest well and truly in order to avoid it.
Actually, I take back my previous statement. I can reason with spores.
Didn't the closest we came to death in the last adventure involve spores?
Yes, it did.
No, banshees. It involved banshees.
Oh yeah. But spores almost did kill us too.
Oh yes, with the explosions.
Yeah.
So what is it that you guys don't trust me with these days? Is it still spiders, spores, and banshees?
Everything.
Cold. Definitely cold.
Voids.
Yeah, void for me. Zero gravity is what scares me.
Alright, well, gentlemen.
Sorry?
Tinkrit, what do you say?
I'm sorry, I've been disturbed.
We're trying to work out whether we go through the caves or continue on the path, and when we come to places covered by the spores, to go around them into the Feywild.
I I feel like we're being herded into the cave, so I'm reticent to do it. But I don't see any other option. I don't like flying. And I haven't blown my bagpipes.
How far away are the spores from?
About half a day's travel.
So if we head there, there's really no chance of coming back. It'll just take a long time.
Yeah.
We might have some tricks to blow away the spores, or if they're alive, speak to them. But I can't guarantee that.
Now the problem is if we try to stop us from flying, as soon as we, the issue will be whether the spores have changed where they are because of this storm, and they now suffuse more of the Feywild than what we observed. If we take all the editor over the spores, we're going to get blown again. We'll get blown down into them.
And the goblins may be a competitive with this guy, whereas this forest makes sure feel like they're all subject to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I vote goblins.
Yeah. Goblins burn easy.
Yes. And maybe we can convince them to do the right thing.
Yes.
Through.
Yes. Or intimidate them.
Yes.
In my experience, intimidating goblins is more often a successful path, given their hierarchical nature and they follow the toughest person. Let's go.
Okay.
That's it off.
I think these shiftweed can look like a goblin. I'm about the right size.
I'm so lost now.
Oh, I can use my boot to read goblin track. I don't know if that would help.
All right. So you guys want to be heading underground in that case?
Yes.
All right. So the entrance to the Goblin Cave is only about half an hour away. You guys do begin to promptly turn back and go ahead and make your way back into the windy area. 20 in deception.
So get dressed as goblin.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. Plus 16. Yeah, you rolled a 4. You got an unnatural 20. Your stuff is ridiculous.
That's charisma, bro. You got 22 charisma.
That is true. Alrighty. So, the pathway up to the cave is has been kept fairly clear of any debris, though you can see that a fair amount of water seems to be currently rushing directly in front of the pathway to the cave. It looks like one of the nearby rivers has overgrown its banks and is currently swelling up a little bit higher. It looks like to get into the cave itself, you may need to struggle across the raging river. What would you guys like to do?
I'm going to use my cloak of the manta ray, swim super fast to the other side of the rope.
Alright. And that just provides swim speed. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, carry on.
60 feet.
How strong for them at the moment?
So it's still intense enough that you probably want to ensure that Tinkrit doesn't go flying, but if he's in the water, he probably doesn't need to worry about that too much. Swim speed.
To know whether I can fly.
It would be difficult to do so. In order to get across safely, I would need you to make a stealth check. A strength check.
Someone needs to get across the other side of the road.
How far is it?
The river is currently about 40 feet across.
And we can't just fly across?
You could with a strength check.
says the man who can turn to a walrus and just
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if I want to waste a wild shape or something to swim.
The rules for long jumping.
Honestly, I actually really hate the D&D rules for long jump. They just feel really underpowered.
I wouldn't go with the wrong way.
So it's like run up, then plus your strength score or something.
Yeah, something
Or minus
weird
one.
like that.
So it'd be like 8.
Right. I'm going to try and fly. Sam, can you run your strength check?
Yes, I can. Give me a sec. Strength. With your +0. That is a 3.
I could never stand to the ground.
Carried away.
Cartwheel into the forest.
Alright.
Stand up.
Alright, so Solturum, you have made the attempt to try and get up and get going. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have worked. You do feel a slight twinge in your new wing. It feels like you might have slight bruising, but you don't think it should impact on any performance if you are able to actually fly from here.
He's still tied to us, isn't he? Aren't we all tied together still?
I believe so.
Do you mind if I get to the other side of the rope?
Yeah. Well, no, I untied myself so I could try flying, but I'm now having learned the error of my ways. Will assist you in that endeavour.
Is there something for me to tie the rope to the other end, Sam?
So on the other side, once you're in the entrance to the cave, you can see that the water seems to be flowing somewhat into the cave, enough that there is at least a small amount, a increasingly deepening pond that's in there. There are a number of stalactites and stalagmites that you may be able to tie the rope onto.
Okay, I get Trish to help me tie the rope.
Alrighty. Roll me survival. Hey, at least I didn't ask you to roll nature.
Oh,
Roll off 19 and onto a 3. Alright. Now, as you continue to try and tie the rope, the wind that howls through the cave, as well as the increasingly deepening water, is enough that you're not really able to successfully tie the rope on. Unfortunately, any attempt you make, the stalactite either immediately breaks when you test the weight, or the rope itself just very quickly comes undone.
so it's the rope coming undone. Can I try sleight of hand then?
I'll allow it at disadvantage, considering the failure of the last one. 32 or a 22. I wonder if you succeed. Alright, flavor it up for me. How would you like to cover for your mistake?
The first time I realised that I was putting my finger in the knot. And now I remember to remove my finger from the knot. And thus the rope stops coming undone. And I try not to let anybody else see that.
That seems fair. Alright. With a...
No, I don't notice.
Did you just roll another nat 1 there, Addison?
I don't know. I'm not even lucky to fix this one. I just really didn't notice.
Alright, so specifically what were you doing?
I was just rolling to see if I noticed Tinker mess up his numbers.
Okay. Do I want to take that seriously as a nat 1, or should I leave it?
I mean, we are in the end game.
We are in the end game, that is true. Alright, well, I can't think of any way to necessarily mess that up at the moment, so I'll add that onto your tally.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely out of practice. Alright, so, with the rope now tied across the raging river, you guys are going to be able to pull yourself across at least with a little bit of work. The river and the floodwaters are rapidly rising though. You'll need to very quickly make your way across. So, who would like to take the first attempt?
Me.
Alright, hit me up with an athletics.
Can I assist them? Like swimming with my cloak of manta ray to assist them?
Yes, you may do so. So I'm going to say that at least 2 people can probably cross at once. So in addition to Rithgar, who would the second person like to be?
I'll go.
Alright, so Rithgar and Will. Who would you like to help in that case? Rob?
Probably Rithgar, because Will can become a bloody orca.
Floodwaters, suddenly outbursts a giant whale.
Well, if he does that, you can walk across it.
That's true. Become a blue whale and they can walk across it.
I'm afraid there's no stat block for that.
Yeah, sadly. Okie doke. Rithgar and Will, please hit me up with your athletics. Rithgar at advantage. Oh, Rithgar.
I'm going to squat. And when you click here,
Sorry, Rob?
sorry, what?
You have to use the bardic inspiration I gave you either, which is now a D8. And I think this is an opportune time for you to use that, don't you?
I agree.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a, what's my called? A 16 that I can use instead. I'm just checking to see if I need to declare that before I roll.
What was after you, didn't I?
I think it's at any point. I think it's just before you know the outcome.
Oh, in that case, yeah, I definitely use the 16. So I've used one of my 14 for the go. My other one's an 11. So Sam, that would be a 20.
Yep. Alrighty. So with the 20, you are both going to be able to make it across. So the water continues to tug at you, and once or twice, Rithgar, you do lose your grip. However, the steadying hand of Tinkrit is able to keep you on track, and you are able to make it into the cave with after a few moments. Will promptly follows you in after that. Alright, Solturum and Norloth.
I'm just going to take a running long jump and then Misty step the rest of the way.
Fair enough. Alright, do me a quick dexterity check. It is a fairly slippery surface where we are right now. $17, you're perfectly fine. Alright, hit me with the flavor.
Just long jumps and just before it hits the water, just turns into a mist and appears on the other side.
Alrighty. And Solturum.
Sam, I think I've got Misty Step as well.
Let me look it up for you. Spells.
I haven't taken through your spell list because I need to take about 1,000 screenshots. Otherwise, it's going to do it.
I know we did it before, so
Yeah, but that was before the character sheets were. I had to delete my character sheets. When I got lost letters.
You didn't have to, that's what you did.
Looking through the spells, it's doesn't look like it's there. Misty Step is a level 2 spell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately not. You have Magic Missile, but or Web. I don't think they're going to help here though.
What other spells have I got going down?
Web, Sleep, Magic Missile, Lesser Restoration, Invisibility, Shield, Chromatic Orb, Burning Hands, Spirit Strike, Prestidigitation, Minor Illusion, Mage Hand, Lightning Lure, Light, Frostbite, Firebolt, Chill Touch. Would you like me to go up the spell levels now?
Yeah, I'll put this.
Alright. Counterspell, Daylight, Fireball, Haste, Polymorph, Wall of fire, hold monster, wall of stone. I bite, finger of death, dominate monster.
Polymorph.
What? What and pull myself across by electrocuting one of you.
We've got a wall of stone. Make a bridge with wall of stone.
Haste yourself. Just run across the water.
Ding.
Polymorph yourself into a creature that can swim.
Let's have a look at haste before I'd allow that or not. Haste, where are you? There you are. You can build one until your speed is doubled. Have to go to run on water. What is your movement speed? So 30 feet. Alrighty. Well, if we're pulling logic into this, then apparently you fall short of about 30 feet to run on water. Because, you know, physics and all that. However, I am willing to provide it to you if you would like to add a nat 1 to your total. Or alternatively, you could use one of your nat 20s.
I've still got the rope, haven't I?
You got the what?
I'm still connected to the rope.
Correct.
Alright, boys, drag me across.
What you said, you never get dragged.
I'm willing, eh? I'm now commanding you to drag me.
Alright. Gentlemen, do me a group strength check.
What have we just done?
The range of a fireball is 120 feet, and I have a staff of flame and multiple spell slots for sorcery points. It's going to become pretty toasty in there if you help me.
Well, I done that one, so I'm not helping.
Well, Rithgar got a nat 20, so I think you just cancelled each other out.
I'm totally weak.
I think you guys just managed to get like an absolute average roll there.
We're only at 14, I think, or maybe.
So we got a nat 20 from Rithgar, we got a 0 from Norloth, which was a nat 1, but factoring in your minus 1.
I need your help at this point.
Just pulls on the rope. Yeah, I'm helping. Yay. Plus 0, plus the 8 from Tinkerett, plus the 17 from Will, divided by 4. That gives you guys an average of 11.25.
I have my character sheet now.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, where is Sultry and Roy?
We'll do an athletics and see where we go.
Why did I say that?
Yeah, that's not a good suggestion.
So that's a 9 from Solturum.
That'll bring it to an average of 10.
Hang on, athletics.
Yep.
So strength. Oh, okay, but my athletics plus 1. My strength is 9.
Oh no, you guys in the cave are doing strength. He's doing athletics because I assume he's swimming across.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No, I'm just gripping like grim death to the rope.
Fair enough.
I'm not trying to do anything other than hold onto the rope, and I've wrapped it around my. I've essentially bundled myself in all the rope.
Shrift, help!
I think Bolt's probably better to help.
But he's not here now, is he, Will? Alright. So, the rest of you, you're going to be able to drag your companion across, but much like the descent into the crypts of the Monks of the Sun Soul, it's not going to be comfortable for him. So, give me...
I don't care. We don't care. Not our problem.
Definitely not giving you guys the
Good name.
magic door rope.
Alright. So, Luke, Solturum is going to be tugged, bumped, and scraped against various rocks, against the riverbed bottom, various bits of wood and flotsam which is floating in the water. You are going to be taking 12 bludgeoning damage over the course of getting you into the cave. Is there any flavour you would like to provide to that, or?
Suffice to say that while following water, I'm screaming and cursing and, questioning competency after. I'm pretty unhappy. This is very undignified.
All right.
Once you get the cross, I just point out that he's got a kinetic barrier.
And everyone else stays across all right. Can't blame us. You're not doing it. We even tried to help you.
I use prestidigitation to draw myself out.
See, I'm just imagining when you emerge from the water, you look like this owl as you just try and fluff the water out of your feathers.
Stop get back and keep going. And I hear you, so it doesn't make sense.
Thank you. And then I draw myself out.
I'll give you a tangible pat on the back.
Alright. So, like I said, with the floodwater slowly rising in this cave, the cave itself goes up for a little bit, but it then will dip down into a tunnel. You guys are going to have to hurry down this tunnel if you want to escape the floodwater before it presumably sweeps your feet out from under you and just carries you into the unknown depths of the earth. So, would you guys want to wait for the water slide, or would you want to try and outrun that?
Outrun. Good lord.
What is it again?
So the... Oh, wait. You're not in there. Okay. So the cave that you're currently in is slowly filling with water from the river outside. The cave tunnel that you'll be entering is a little bit more elevated, but you don't have much time before the water reaches the top of that elevation and then goes down the path.
Right, let's move fast.
I can draw this, though I don't think you can actually see it, but I can draw this for everyone else. do 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 do. And then water, 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 water. Y'all can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
It's an alien, right?
All right. So,
Is that anything other than an elephant?
so if you guys would like to outrun the water, you're pretty much going to have to sprint your way down and into the depths. All of you have a dark vision, I believe.
Yeah.
No. Not currently.
You want dark vision?
Might just turn into a creature that does have it.
Like, they can give you dark vision.
Oh,
That's like accurate.
Oh, is it cantrip? Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, cool. I will cast that.
Yeah. You know what? I honestly don't think I've seen that cantrip before. That's cool. Alrighty. So, with all of you able to see into the darkness, you can see that the tunnel seems to have been made out of steps. Actually has worked steps, so you should be able to go down with a decent amount of ease, presuming you don't slip. You and elephant skin. You guys only have about 2 turns before the water is going to reach the peak, and then it's going to be functionally following you down the steps as well. So, I'm going to do this as, I suppose, a chase scene round kind of thing. So would you guys like to do that in initiative order, or would you just like me to keep track of who's moved and who hasn't?
Yeah, whatever's easy.
Aye. Alrighty, hit me up with initiative then.
I rolled an 11, so I'm rolling on the app.
Oh, okay. Give me.
I did a natural 22.
Isn't that like your 5th one for this session?
Pretty nice.
Who do you think you are, Rob?
And it doesn't. Yeah, that works.
But it doesn't count for initiative, does it?
On the plus side, you now, Michael, have 7 nat 20s, including the previous strength check, which is equal to the combined nat 20s stored by everyone else. Alright.
I'm going to try and stealth down.
Sorry?
I'm going to try and stealth my way down.
So the water avoids you?
Well, I'm going to try.
Well, there was a halfling here, but nah, he's fine. We can't see it.
The water doesn't matter.
Let's go. Norloth.
Ooh, Yakasha.
That's a 30. That's a 40k.
And a natural 20.
And Sultan. Okie doke. Tinker rolled himself 26. Will rolled himself a 13. 26 for Rithgar. 10 for Norloth. And an 11 for Salturm. Who has the higher dexterity between Tinkrit and Rithgar? I can probably guess, but...
I have that higher initiative of plus 11.
Yeah, that'll probably do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so in that case, Tinkrit, you may begin. You have jumped into stealth. Are you using your nat 20 or you're storing it?
33 should be enough, shouldn't it? Yeah, maybe just stick with a 33 and use that.
Alrighty.
Still
So, you jump into stealth, I guess, and you initiate your standard movement speed.
come slide down.
Alright, Rithgar, what would you like to do?
Yeah. I guess I'm going to stealth as well and do likewise. To basically just copy that.
Alright. That is a 27?
Yeah, I roll the advantage, and if I've got the additional plus 10, then 30%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I go down the track.
So, that is a 37 in total. So the two of you are now fully stealthed as you begin to dive into the depths of the ground. Alright, Will.
Is there any driftwood around?
Within the cave?
Like in the pit behind it, it's like slowly filling up water.
There is not. There is some located closer to the cave around here, but none where you guys are standing.
Okay. Well, my idea was to make some sort of water skis and wait for the water to come up and then ski down.
It's very Disney.
However, I might just... I'm just gonna run down like everyone else in stealth, I guess.
Fair enough.
So,
Alright. Noloth.
How high is this cabin actually?
Not very high, only about 10 feet above your head.
Would I be able to just like, float down on my broom of flying?
It will be a bit cramped, but if you roll me a dexterity check, then we'll find out. Well, with nat 20, I wonder. Yep, you should be good to go. Use the nat 20, store it.
Store it, please.
Store it. Alright. So, you are able to bungee yourself fairly close to your broom as you are able to very expertly dodge whatever stalactites are currently hanging from the ceiling and make your way down the narrow passage of the cave. Alright, Saltorum?
I will just, I think, dash. We're doing this on a turn-based thing, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah. I will dash sprint down the corridor.
Sprint down the corridor. Alright. So, double movement, easy enough. Alright, so in that case, that leaves, I believe, Tinkrit, Rithgar, and Will. You're currently in section 1 of the map that I've displayed. The water is rising, and it is nearly at the apex of the cave. Tinkrit, round 2.
Well, if the water's already, you say the water's already there, so try and use the focus of the manta rays, just like shoot down the tube.
It's nearly there. It's not quite over the lip of the cave yet, though.
Well, I'll continue down there in stealth mode.
Yep.
Once the full arrives, and I'll use my cloak to shoot down.
Alright. So keep in mind that the force of the descending water is likely to cause some problems, so at that time you'll be doing an athletics check just to ensure that you're able to keep things in track.
Can I try acrobatics? Like jump side to side?
I'll accept that because of fishy swimming motion. Alright, Rithgar.
Would casting work, me going faster, if I cast one spell on myself, would I be able to outrun the water?
Long stride.
I think we can, if I just speed it by 10 feet, so not really.
Can you put long stride into the chat?
So,
It's all good. Long stride. Increased by 10 feet till the ends. You will be faster, but you don't entirely know whether you'll be able to beat the velocity of the water when it begins falling. However, it will be enough to take you into the second area of the depth.
we'll cast that
Alrighty.
and run.
Yep. Okay. And William?
What here? Turned into a turtle, withdrawed into my shell, and just slid down the rest of the
I feel like you guys have been playing way too much video games in the last month break.
I really just turned into my brain went to Mario Kart, and I turned into a shell. It's like.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one who thought Mario Kart. All right. Doing so, it pretty much you'll encounter the same problems that Rob is doing, in that you'll have to be dealing with the velocity of the water and trying to navigate through. So, in this case, I would just be doing an outright strength check on your behalf, because turtles don't tend to have much in the way of maneuverability. You are also likely to, if you go sufficiently fast enough, impact directly into the two people in front of you, in this case, Tinkrit and Rithgar.
Yeah, probably not a great.
What about me? I should be fairly fast as well.
Oh, yep, sorry. In this case, it would be Norloth and Salturum, because they are the two in Section 2 right now. Oh, and Rithgar. So Tinkrit and Will.
We'd be able to dodge out of the way though, right?
It's a fairly narrow cavern. You'd need to do a sufficient dex. Norloth can definitely do that right now, but the rest of y'all.
Pretty small.
I'm just trying to think. Other than run.
Turn yourself into like a pangolin and make yourself a ball.
I'm gonna turn myself into a giant octopus and embrace myself with my suckers. Yep, done. I'll do that. I'm becoming an octopus and with my suckers just attaching to the wall.
Fair enough. All right. So the water. Oh, sorry, nope. We're done with Will. On to Norloth.
I guess I'll just continue floating down casually in my broom.
Yep. It's a 60-foot movement speed for it, isn't it? 50. All right, easy enough. That one down to that way. Solturum.
If I dash, last turn, can I dash again this turn?
Yes. Dashing is your action, so.
That is what I shall be doing.
Alrighty. Okay, so as it is, both Norloth and Solturum have taken the lead as they have been able to descend down far more quickly than the rest of y'all. Rithgar is currently in the middle, while Tinkrit and Will are currently still in section 1. Now, you guys begin to hear the ominous sound of water trickling, which begins to rapidly build up into the sound of a rapid torrent of water, and underfoot, a small amount of moving wet very rapidly changes into a cascading flow of water, enough that if you are not careful, it is likely to sweep your feet out from under you. So, can I very quickly get a strength save from Rithgar, Solturum, and Tinkrit? You've not transformed yet, have you?
I didn't have to transform. Why am I limited? I still went down to the next level in my second turn. How come I'm still at level 1? I'm confused. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yep, that's on me. Okay, yes, you're in the Cloak of the Manta Ray. So yes, can I get a strength from Tinkrit to brace himself so that he can position and begin to control himself through the waves? Or torrent.
Yeah, that's right. Is it in the Cloak of the Manta Ray?
Yep. Acrobatics, 28. Very nice. Wait, I'm rolling for Solturum.
So I can roll on my D&D Beyond.
No, if you'd like. I just rolled a nat 20 for you, though.
That roll isn't necessarily working on the app anymore.
Oh, really? Magic. So, would you like to use the nat 20 or save it?
I'll save it.
Can I just say we have rolled a ridiculous amount of nat 20s this session?
We have to make it up for the last month.
Yeah,
Let's say it's Oxford, we're getting out of the way.
Alright.
And I rolled them up that once for the last month as well, so.
Well, there's that.
Thanks, man.
I'm good for that. At least it's better off me than you guys.
Addison is diving on the grenade there. Alright, so Solturum, you are going to be able to brace yourself against the incoming water, which rapidly goes from ankle height to roughly about knee height. Tinkrit, likewise, you're able to position yourself. Rithgar, on the other hand, you stumble and lose your footing, and you begin to slide very rapidly down the ongoing water slide that is now this particular tunnel. So, since Solturum did, however, get a nat 20 already, I'm going to say that Solturum is either by apparent near clairvoyance or just sheer dumb luck, he is able to sense Rithgar behind him and dodges barely out of the way as the Demon Slayer suddenly plunges into the darkness, being swept away by the water. Alright, Tinkrit, your turn.
I continue to make my way down, but I can go 60 feet in water, so...
Yep.
All the way to the bottom.
So in that case, you're going to catch up to where Solturum is currently standing.
Is there any way I can assist Rithgar?
Probably not at the moment. Wait, 60 feet? Actually, you know what? I'll allow it. If you can convince me, what would you like to do?
I will fly, or swim, fly, underneath and try and brace and kick him to stop him from smashing on the ground.
Alright. So, Rithgar, Tinkrit is attempting to help you while in his current form. Can I please get a dexterity saving throw?
I'm going to use my 11. Yeah, use your 11. Yeah, use my 11. So that's a 19, okay?
19? Alright. That is going to be a success. So, in this case, Rob, provide me the flavor. How are you going to be able to save Rithgar?
I swim underneath and hook myself to his belt and swim like Michael Phelps' songs weed.
Fair enough. Alright. So, Rithgar, you feel yourself being braced against a small form, and when you look over, you can see that it appears that Tinkrit has been able to successfully slow and control your descent. You are still struggling through the water, but at the moment you are able to keep your head at least above what it is. Alright, so I'm going to take that as having been Rithgar's turn, since you lost your footing. On to Will.
I'm going to swim down as I think 60 feet.
It's just a suckering noise as you just squelch off of the surface.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Noloth.
I guess I'll just continue to float down.
Alright. So, Noloth, you are currently in the lead in basically where you currently are. So you rapidly come to a section of the tunnel which abruptly flattens out and then continues on for a little while. It then begins to veer upwards. With the speed of your broom, you are pretty much able to take that U-turn and begin climbing up into the tunnel once more. This is the Noloth one, isn't it? Alright, Solturum.
How large is the tunnel?
It's not overly large, only maybe about 5 feet across, 10 feet tall.
Alright, I am going to try and make a dash to follow Noah.
Yep. Alright, so in this case, because you are, again, combating the water, but you got that nat 20 before, yeah, I guess I'll just immediately allow it. Okay, you dash down. You aren't going to be able to quite make it as far as what Noloth did, but you are able to make it into this little U-bend here. So, the water down there is, again, only roughly about ankle height, but it is liable to get much higher very shortly. Alright, Tinkrit.
I will go down 60 feet.
Yep. Alright, so likewise with Solturum, you hit the U-turn and kind of splash out into it. Sorry, yeah, the U-bend. The U-bend. Rithgar, you are still pretty much being attached to Tinkrit. What would you like to do once you guys hit the U-bend?
start swimming.
All right.
Athletics or
Yep, hit me with athletics. 22. Very nice. All right. You are able to brace yourself just in time that you're able to avoid doing any damage, though there is a little bit of a jar to your knees as you hit the U-turn feet first, but you're able to functionally swivel turn that into a small swim into this little area. Directly ahead of you, you can see both Tinkrit and Solturum, and a little bit further up, you see the tail end of the broom Norloth's broom as he begins his climb. Alright, William.
Alright, 60 feet of move. Option. Just keep crawling down the side of the okay.
Alright, just keeping it calm. Alright, so the water is getting higher now, and though you guys can't necessarily see it from the cave, it is functionally kind of overwhelmed the cave entrance as well as the cave itself. The torrent of water from you behind you guys begins to pick up, and pretty much the entire tunnel is now has a wall of water shooting down it directly for you guys. Can I get another Constitution saving throw? This one from everybody except Norloth, and I'll do Solturum's for him.
Is it the water that's reporting a Constitution check?
Yep, so pretty much it's a riptide.
So the fact that I can swim doesn't affect that?
You'll have advantage.
I probably won't have.
And means I have advantage too, I assume?
Sure.
Because what's it called?
Okay, so Rithgar, Will, Tinkrit. So Tinkrit gets an 18. Alright. And is that everyone? 1, 2... Yep, cool. Alright, you hit me with the flavor. Like I said, you guys are pretty much being slammed with this entire strong wall of water, just trying to pull you, push you forward and through to the tunnel. You're able to brace yourself enough that the pain itself is reduced to functionally a very hard slap to the face, but it's nothing permanent.
It reminds me of the Pipe Drone family water park, where we were sort of outside, and because of my great deal of practice with that, I just through skin and twirl, especially by the manta ray cloak. So miss all the damage.
Fair enough.
at this point, is it fair to say that we control the action?
Fair to say that, yes.
2 weeks later, Awakened Fables is sued.
Don't worry, they can edit it out in post.
Yeah.
Like,
Alrighty. Anybody else want to add flavor, or you're good to go?
As an octopus, I pretty much just brace myself, put all of my suckers down, and just make sure I'm as steady as possible.
For good measure, just drop a squirt of ink into the water just to blind Tinkrit.
Yeah. Just got a water to inconvenience the brains.
Of course. Alright. So, where are the... Oh, Gore's Night. Alright. You guys are entering into the upwards bend of the U-bend. From here, you've functionally been able to roll well enough at just the right times to avoid all the danger. So it is a fairly bedraggled collection of adventurers who do manage to pull themselves up and out of the bend. Norloth, you are completely dry and fine. You have no problems. The rest of your companions, on the other hand, are pretty much fully saturated.
I can use prestidigitation on anyone who wants to dry off.
Technically, when I change back, I probably won't be there.
Well, I was thinking that you'd probably appear after a minute or two and, just with the steady suckers, squelch, squelch, squelch. By the time everybody else is dry, an octopus emerges from the water. Tinkrit assumes it's a mind flayer and instantly stabs it. Alright. So, the tunnel continues on before you, but the water behind you at the very least seems to be stabilizing. It is still rising, but it has been sufficiently slowed down somewhat by the U-bend of the tunnel system. As you guys prepare yourself, dry yourself, and continue to move on, the tunnel continues on for about 300 to 400 feet before it abruptly opens up into an immense cavern. Now, the cavern itself is extraordinarily well lit by what looks like various glowing fungi, which are currently growing from various points in the ceiling. Most importantly, it looks like there does seem to be a eclectic collection of trees currently growing down here, almost akin to the forest that's growing up above the ground itself. Now, here and there you are able to see a few animals, but they are the standard cave varieties, so fairly brilliantly coloured bats who seem to be swooping down and around and consuming a variety of insects that are down here. At the current time, you are not able to see any sentient humanoid life forms.
I'm going to stealth again. It shouldn't surprise you.
Alright, so the area down here is, like I said, fairly... Whoop, am I hitting up that stealth? Well, I don't know if you're hidden with a 31. Check.
41.
Oh yeah, 41. So reality just forgets you're there. Crap, there was a halfling around here. Where did I leave it?
Next to the invisible ink.
Alright. So, it is a fairly glamorous sight. The glowing mushrooms, at the very least, are a brilliant bluish-white light, which apparently seems to travel for quite a distance. And even down here you can see a variety of grasses and lichen, which seem to spread across the base of the cavern in order to act as a sort of softer matting of sorts. Here and there in the distance, especially around the roof of the cavern, you can occasionally see a few crystals sticking out of the wall in abrupt clusters. Many of these seem to be semi-precious, so in most cases probably not worth the effort to actually scale up and remove them from the wall. However, you are unable to actually see the other side of the cavern, as the distant wall seems to be far enough away that you cannot immediately see it. Sorry? Alright.
Are you able to determine where on the map we might actually be, given where we travel to go into the cave and going down the tunnel in the U-turn? And tell us which direction we should be walking in?
Yeah, Shane, is that something that I could tell from my cartographical background?
Hit me up with a survival.
Okay. What cost to come at the glass and what is it? 1 second. The first one.
15? Alright. It takes you a few moments in order to recover your sense of balance and direction from where you've been swept up by the water, but you are eventually able to, I suppose, at least roughly figure out your trajectory just from where the water has taken you. You feel like you may have, you are able to calculate that you seem to have gotten at least a little bit closer in the direction of the autumnal castle. The cavern itself seems to stretch off in the same direction of it as well.
Alright. Let's move
I
down.
start drawing a map of that underground adventure.
So,
Alrighty. Well, with that one, guys, it is now 11 p.m, so we should probably wrap it up for now. Like I said, not much in the way of combat, but you guys rolled like just at the right time to diffuse the various dangers and stuff I'd actually put in. It was very impressive, but weirdly annoying. Alright, would you like to nominate your MVP?
Yeah. Supreme map working skills and like 5 corners.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
I vote for me and Richter.
Alright,
I was going to vote for Tinker.
that's good, because Tinkrit voted for himself as well. Alright, well, Michael, it looks like you have successfully been voted MVP. So, give me a quick sec and I will jump over to my treasure tables. Alright, would you prefer melee, magic, or rogue? Sorry, rogue?
Yeah.
Aye. Roll me a d20. Oh, hello. In that case, roll me a d4 followed by a d6.
Even in treasure tables is rolling things. A true.
That's another natural 20 for him as well, right?
Yeah. He's going to have 10, 20 billion tonight. He's going to get a very rare.
I'm not rolling this, so.
No, just give him a legendary at this point.
Well, he has just rolled on the very rare table, so... But he has just rolled on the shield table. Let's have a look at this one. Oh, that's a fun one. Alright, so, Michael, at some time during your adventure today, you have come into possession of the Shield of the Uven Rune. The shield is made from the scale of an ancient white dragon. It has a rune burned into its outward-facing side. A character who examines the rune and succeeds on a DC 20 intelligence history check, recognized as the Uven enemy in giant rune that confers great power. While holding the shield, you benefit from the following properties. You're immune to cold damage. Immediately after a creature hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to deal 3d6 necrotic damage to that creature. You can cast the Bane spell from the shield. Does not require concentration. You can transfer the shield's magic to a non-magical weapon by tracing the rune on the weapon with one finger. It takes out 8 hours of work. The item needs to be within blah blah blah. The weapon becomes a rare magic item with the properties of a +1 weapon. And it increases to a +3 if you use it against an aberration, celestial, construct, dragon, elemental, fey, fiend, giant, or undead. One of those decided by yourself.
Is there any way I could switch it to...
Sorry?
Is there any way I could switch it to demon?
Switch it for what?
For a demon instead of that list.
Fiends, King's Demons.
Oh, Fiend. Yeah, great. Fiend.
Yeah, fiends and oh, yep, just on that list it's fiends, so you can pick it against fiends. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And you know, that's immunity to cold damage, that's always good. Alright, well, congratulations, Michael. To our listeners, we will be back hopefully soon with our next one, and we will see you then for the second to last adventure in this podcast. So, have a good day, and we'll catch you then.